All right. Welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for taking time out of your night and coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So, like, the first question I wanted to ask you, you founded Fright Fright Rags, and that's amazing because I own a lot of shirts from Fright Rags, and I'm a big horror guy, a big horror fan. So when I see you came out with like Killer Clown stuff and The Crow and Halloween and Chucky and everything, like, and then I go to all the horror cons, and when your shirts are there, I get them. So like, how did everything start with it?
Well, thank you, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I after I graduated college, I went to school for graphic design. I was in and out of college, I went to college and I quit. And I went to work and then I went back to college for 4 years. So I ended up graduating a little bit later than I normally would have, had I stayed in after high school. But anyway, graduated with a graphic design degree. I was working at a laptop bag company here in Rochester, New York, where I'm from.
Mhm.
And it was fine. I was a graphic designer. It was a small company. It was only 3 people in the company. And I was doing a lot of things, product photography and website design and all these other things. And that was great. But I had a lot of free time. My now wife and I, we were, just dating each other, but we were living together and we were in an apartment. We had a lot more time. We didn't have kids yet or a house to deal with or whatever. So I would spend a lot of my time on horror forums and things like that, because this was before MySpace and
Yeah.
Facebook and all that. So I was in the community, if you will, talking to people and just hanging out a lot of times. But I saw so many great artists doing things like making masks and Freddy gloves and all these other props and other things. And I thought, man, I want to do something like that. But I didn't have the space, nor I don't in the talent to be doing anything quite like that. But I knew design. And I'd always been into kind of weird t-shirts and sort of random t-shirts and things. Like I was drawn to, like, I grew up, like, I rode BMX bikes and I was kind of in the skate culture with my friends, stuff like that. So I never had any horror shirts. So I thought, oh, cool. So I started coming up with some ideas, and I came up with this one idea, a WW hockey mask D. So what would Jason do, And I didn't see anybody do that before. And I was talking to my buddy Justin, who ran Night Owl Forums, who went on to form Trick or Treat Studios.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he was a good friend of mine and at the time, and he's like, dude, I love these. We should put them on my forum. People would love them. So he put them on his forum to showcase,
Mhm.
and people just responded really positively, like, oh, I would wear that and all these things. It was what would Jason do? And there was like a hockey mask one, and then I like just a hockey mask shirt, and then I did like a Michael Myers thing. But they were really, really simple. I mean, stupid simple. But people liked them enough for me to be like, hey, what, maybe I should do something with this. So I ordered shirts online to be printed. I spent way more money than I should have. I spent like $600 for like 60 shirts, and they were one color designs, but I didn't know what else to do. And I just came up with a website name and hand coded my website and just started it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I really had no idea. I just thought, well, I need a place for people to go to buy these things. So
Yeah.
let's come up with a name. I need a name. Like Fright Rag sounds kind of cool. And it really all started like that and just kept going. I mean, it took a long time to like really get going. Like a few people ordered at first, all the people from Night Owl, but then
Okay.
things just dropped off, and I had to keep getting the word out there somehow. And I kept to learn more about marketing, and I just fell in love every aspect of it, the design, but also the business aspect and all of those things. So it was just something I would work on in my free time.
Oh wow, that's so awesome. And like, how do you pick the horror films you want to do for the shirts? Like, is it films that you love watching, or do you just pick like a film that you didn't watch? Like, how's that go? Like, how do you pick the horror films for the shirts?
It varies. Obviously we want to do the films that you like, right? Like
Yeah,
my favorite
of
movie of all
course.
time is Halloween. Obviously, I had to love like Night of the Living Dead. I'm wearing the shirt. There's movies that, of course, that I love growing up that I always want to work with, but there are also, when you work with studios and things, then they have a list of titles. You kind of look at them and say, well, no one's really done anything with this title, or
Yeah.
oh, we could do something really cool with this title. And so it's a mix. And then there are some titles that sometimes you just never know. Like, for example, we just put out a True Romance collection. Now, I like True Romance. That's a great film. But you never know how it's going to translate to when we do shirts for it. And then we, are people going to like it? Is that going to be, is that going to translate to sales, or is it worth getting the license? Because you have to pay a lot of money for licenses, and if you don't know if something's going to sell, you just never know. It's always a crapshoot. But I thought we could do enough with it, and we had enough ability. Now, the other thing is when you get rights to a movie, you might not always get the ability to do likenesses. So with something like True Romance, if you can't use Christian Slater or Patricia Arquette or Gary Oldman, like, you're going to be doing a lot of silhouettes. You're going to be doing a lot of like dancing around it. And that can work for some things, but it doesn't work for everything. And that, well, luckily with True Romance, we had full ability to do kind of what we wanted. And I thought, okay, well, that's worth it, because now we can showcase the characters, and there was a ton of assets and stuff. So it's a blend of sort of things. Like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's try it. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, we got the rights to this movie. I can't wait,
Nice. Because I see you do like a lot of killer clown stuff now. Because like, for some reason, it seems like 2022, 23, the Killer Clowns made this huge comeback, and like everyone is like killer clown crazy now.
Yeah, no, I think part of that was Spirit, actually, because we had the license, and there was a few other companies that were doing Killer Clowns stuff. And quite frankly, like, we've been doing Killer Clowns for, oh God, our first collection was 8 years ago. And other companies do it, whether it's figures or shirts or other things. And it's been like, as you and I know, in the sort of the community, if you will, the horror community, it's always been sort of popular. But I think what's really happened is Spirit, in a couple of years ago, because Spirit was buying some stuff from us. We had one of our shirts, 2 of our shirts in Spirit and Spencer's, and one of our hats. It blew up one year. They just decided, hey, we want to focus on Killer Clowns. And then they started doing their own stuff with it, and they worked with companies. So I think once you get into Spirit, you can elevate a title to more of a mass appeal, because you've got horror fans going into Spirit, but you also have people that just love Halloween, and they love going to Spirit because they love seeing all the cool stuff that's out that year. And they might not be like a huge fan necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you noticed a couple years ago, or in the last 5 years or so, Trick or Treat has gotten huge.
Yes.
And I guarantee you ask anybody coming out of Spirit who looked at a Sam thing that was in Spirit, I bet 2 out of 5 people have actually seen the movie. They just love Sam, the character. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's going to be great. If that can get everybody into it, and maybe get a sequel made, all more power to it. So it's not looking down on that. It's just a different thing. So I think that's what you're seeing with Killer Clowns.
Yeah, because Fright Rags is the one that did the Alice Cooper shirt with the Jason mask.
Yes, yeah, we did that with Alice.
I actually got that shirt, and
Nice.
I'm a big fan of Alice Cooper, and I'm a big fan of the film that Alice Cooper sung the man behind the mask for. And I got that shirt. That's an awesome shirt, like the Alice Cooper, the Jason mask, and
well, we might be doing some more Alice Cooper stuff next year, so
really?
look out for that. Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah,
Alice seems like really, like, did you get a chance to actually talk to him, or was it his like team?
No, so Alice, we haven't got a chance to talk to, though. I know he and his team approve everything, so I know he got to look at stuff. But in other cases, like Rob Zombie, when we work with him, I deal directly with him. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. So, and I'll send stuff to Rob, or he'll like send ideas to me and be like, hey, why don't we do this? But I'll be like, hey, what do you think of this? And he'll either say, yep, that's great, or, change this or do something. So he's very hands-on with everything. It's funny, when he was doing the Munsters movie, obviously he wrote and directed it for Universal, but it was his movie. And we were going to ask Universal if we could get the rights to it, but he had already told Universal he wanted us to get the rights. So they came to us and they added it to our agreement, and he started sending us pictures from the set. And this is so funny. So when you work with, especially like a big studio, if you can't just use any images, they have to be what are called approved assets. And what that means is those images have to go through a process through legal to make sure that they are approved usage for marketing, for merchandise, for, you know, articles, things like that, right? So that's why when you see like news articles and things, sometimes you'll see the same image over and over again from the movie, because that's an approved asset, right? So he's sending us images, we're starting to design around that, but Universal says, well, these aren't approved. And I'm like, well, who's going to approve them? Rob's the one sending them to us. Like, who's going to not approve them? The lawyers? Like, he's on set doing this. So it's funny sometimes the hoops you have to jump through. I'm like, we're getting them from the person making the movie. Like, who's going to say no to that? I mean, again, there are lawyers that have to get involved, and there's things that, you know, even go beyond the writer director, but it was pretty funny.
Wow. And like, what actually goes into making a shirt? Like designing the shirt, making it, and printing it. Like that seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, you know, because I can list out all the things and it sounds like a lot, and it is, but I don't think of it sometimes. So obviously there's a concept, and that can come from, like, first of all, you have the rights to a movie, and we have to know the limitations. Again, like I said before, can we use likenesses? You know, what can we do, right? And then we pick designers that we work with. There's a couple people that we work with work exclusively for us, but we also have, you know, other artists that we contact, right? So we might have an idea me and our team might have an idea of, we want to do this style, so contact this person for that. Or we just know we want to use Kyle or Justin, which is two of our guys, for a design. And then sometimes it's like, look, you like make up something, you know, like we'll maybe sometimes give direction, like maybe sometime, like, for example, that Drexel shirt we did for True Romance, I told Kyle, I'm like, we needed to look like a 90s rap shirt, you know, like it's got to look like Dr. Dre or something like that. And he nailed it. He knew exactly what I meant. I sent him examples. But other times I'm like, just do something, and he'll come back with ideas, and I'll look at it and be like, no, that doesn't work, or man, that's perfect as is, love it. And then we have to send it to the studio or licensor to get approval. And then they have to let us know that it's okay. Once they let us know it's okay, we're good to go. And then we have to make sure all the legal line information's on there, and we usually put it in the tag. And then we send it to our printer, and then they take it, and they have to take every image and manually break it down to individual colors. And sometimes it's, you know, this shirt I'm wearing now is only like 2 colors, basically. It's the green here and the white, maybe a gray, but it's really simple. But some of our shirts are 13, 14 individual colors that go into halftones. They have to overlay to make tones in a broad range of colors. So they do all that manual work. They send us mock-ups to look at to make sure everything's approved. We approve it. Then they go and print it, which means every color gets a screen. All the inks get mixed. They run it. They fold it. They send it over. And they're only like they're not less than 2 miles away from us. They're right down the street from us, like directly down the street. And so they bring everything over to us. Sometimes I'll go over to them and check it out on press to see how it's going. Or if they have a question, they'll text us a picture, or we'll go over there and look at it. And then we get the shirts and they're ready to go. So it is definitely a process from beginning to end to get one shirt made.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And we have constantly multiple images in various states. So right now we've got a ton of images waiting for approval. We've got a lot of stuff on the press right now. And then we just got shirts to sell. Like, we just released the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2003 collection today. We just got those shirts like yesterday. Okay. So they're literally hot off the press.
Oh man, that's awesome. And like, what inspired you to want to make the Halloween 2 game, the board game? Like, I mean, I'm sure it's based off Halloween 2, the movie, right?
Yep. So we started working with a friend of mine, Anthony Massey. I had known him. I had kind of known him, but we weren't like really we had never, I don't really think ever talked, but I knew him through the community, and he had worked with the guys who run like Compass International Pictures, who do Halloween. So I kind of known him through the grapevine for years, but we never really worked together. And he worked closely with Scott Schneid, who owns Silent Night, Deadly Night, who's a friend of mine because we work with him. And he's like, hey, I have this idea for a board game for Silent Night, Deadly Night, and we can call it like Stop the Killer. And would you guys want to work on something together? I'm like, that sounds great. So we did all the artwork. Our artist Justin did all the artwork for it. Joe, who works for me, did the board game design. Anthony designed the actual gameplay. And so it was a real collaborative effort. And we did it on Kickstarter, and it was a hit. And then Anthony's like, we should make this a series. What other games could we do? And again, when you get licenses for things, you have to have certain categories. So when we get a license for Halloween or, you know, Silent Night, Deadly Night, we have to say in the agreement what we want: t-shirts, lounge hats. And if it's not in there, you can't do it unless you get an amendment or pay more money or, you know, all those things. So Scott, being a friend of mine, he didn't care. And then like we got the rights to My Bloody Valentine next, and we're like, ooh, we should do a game for that. So we got that.
Nice.
In the interim, we renewed our contract with Universal, and I put board games in there, and I was able to get board games for a couple titles, one of them being Halloween 2. So we knew that was coming up next, and we teased it last fall, but it was a lot of work, because with Halloween 2, that is actually through Universal Studios. They have a much more intense process of approvals than like literally a guy that's just going, yeah, it looks great, you know what I mean? Which is awesome, you know, when you have that kind of situation. This is like multiple people and a team of people that send back notes on every little thing, and it's a back and forth and back. I mean, it took months of this. I mean, it's literally been in process for 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and we've got another one in the works now that's going to be released this fall on Kickstarter. And there's a couple more ideas we have cooking. So yeah, we've got a few more things to do with the board game, you know, era.
So what is Halloween 2, the board game? Like, who can you play as? Is it similar to the movie?
Yeah, so basically you're trying to stop Michael from getting to the hospital. And then on the other side of the board, you're actually in the hospital. You're just trying to stop him from killing. And you can play as Dr. Loomis. You can play as Lori. You can play as Bud and Mrs. Alves. And so there's multiple players. And again, we couldn't use their faces, so we had to get very creative with it. That took a lot of back and forth. And so it's just a kind of a role and play game. The one thing about the games that we want to do is we wanted to make them easy to understand and play. I mean, and the other thing is you can play as a single player and up to 4 players. So you can actually play it by yourself. And the one thing that, look, I love the fact that some amazing board games out there now, Mondo and Funko, and they've been a lot of games that have been put out that are awesome. Yeah. But they're hard to play. And for me, like my wife got me the Goonies game from, I think, Funko a couple of years ago for Christmas. And we spent all day trying to learn how to play it. And then we played it once. I don't remember how to play it. So now I got to relearn that. Like, I'm sorry, but like I have kids. Like, it's not like I don't have a ton of time to like just, and quite frankly, I don't want to spend all day learning a new game. I just want to, I want to open up a game and be like Chutes and Ladders and play.
Exactly.
So, I mean, ours are a little bit more complicated than that, but not much more. It doesn't take much. And it's the same game. Like, they're basically the same games. So, you know, it's like when you can buy Monopoly that's themed something, you know, or Trivial Pursuit that's themed something. It's the same game. It's just different visuals and different things. And that's what I like about these, because once you know, if you've ever played the Silent Night, Deadly Night one, then you can pick up Halloween 2 and you'll be playing it in 2 seconds, you know? It's just different characters. So I don't know. We've been having some fun with it. It's been a challenge, but it's been fun. Okay.
And who do you like playing with? Like, do you have a certain character you like playing with for the game?
Well, I haven't played Halloween 2 yet. Only because I don't have it, because it's still on Kickstarter. And we've seen mock-ups and other things, but I haven't got a sample yet. The My Bloody Valentine, though, it's great because the miner is actually, it's light up, which is really cool. I mean, you can play as the miner, but Yeah, I don't know. I just like picking different characters. It's, it doesn't matter to me. It's just fun to play.
Yeah, definitely. And being a big fan of Halloween films, like which Halloween do you like the most?
I mean, the original, that's the one that got me into horror. I mean, I don't think I'd be
Yeah,
doing any of this. I mean, you can see behind me, I have two Halloween posters up.
yeah.
I I saw that when I was 4 years old. It was the network premiere of the movie. It was October 30th, 1981,
Oh
and I
wow.
saw it. Yeah, so it was that really set the tone for my life in terms of my love for horror. Like saw that movie and was like, I want to see more of this. This is amazing. So yeah, it definitely that's the movie that made me a horror fan.
Nice. And besides the Halloween films, like what are some horror films that you love that you never get tired of?
Well, I mean, I actually have another poster of it up here, but Sleepaway Camp 2 is one of my favorites.
I love that movie.
It's so good, right?
Pamela
Yeah,
Springsteen. Yeah,
she's the best, and
yes.
it's got everything I love in horror. You know what I mean? It's just blood, boobs, and it's and it's comedy. Like, and she's a badass killer. There's great kills.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, literally, it's got. And I just love everything about it. But I love Silver Bullet's one of my favorite movies.
definitely.
Um, Obviously, like Trick or Treat was, to me, when I saw that in 2009 when it came out on video finally, I was like, this movie is like an instant classic to me.
Oh
Like,
my God, I love that
um,
movie.
I mean, I could go on and on. Night of the Living Dead, obviously, Evil Dead,
Yeah,
Texas. I mean, all the main ones that we all know. But I'm
yeah.
trying to think of ones that sometimes people don't think of. Like, again, Silver Bullet to me, I feel like some people don't usually talk about, or like John
Mhm.
Carpenter. Everyone talks about Halloween and The Thing, but like I love Prince of Darkness. That's one of my favorite.
Oh yeah,
You
and
know.
that's another movie Alice is in.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. So I don't know. I as a kid and even now, like I always gravitated towards slashers. Like I love Friday 13
Mhm.
series and even Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff. But Hellraiser is obviously great. But as I've gotten older, I mean, I appreciate all sorts of subgenres of the main horror genre. So I can, the only things I don't gravitate toward to, I'm not really big into like the exploitation films, like the
Oh
rape
yeah,
films and like the
yeah,
cannibal films. I'm not. I get it. People like a lot of that stuff. It's just not for me. I don't really. That's not a cool Friday night for me. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly,
But
exactly.
is that what you kind of like yourself?
Oh my God, yeah, slashers and like the po- possession films and
Oh yeah,
the zombies and all that. Like
yeah.
one of my favorite films. I mean, I'm sure you heard of it because you're a big horror guy. Demon Wind.
Oh yes, I
Like
love that cover.
it's such a cheap knockoff of the Evil Dead, but
Yeah.
it's such like when I watched that movie, I couldn't stop watching it, and like I love it. Like it's a really good horror movie.
That's the cover of that like wolf looking thing, right? But it's like
Yes, yes,
electric. And
like
oh,
it
I
coming like
love that.
coming
I
out
don't know
like
if I've
that.
actually, yes,
Yeah.
if I've ever seen it. I wonder if Joe Bob did it. I feel like I've seen parts of it.
Hmm.
I don't remember when, but I when you said that, I remember that cover. It's kind of like the Video Dead, like that cover
Yes.
with the zombie
Yes.
coming out of TV.
Exactly.
Like that's a horrible movie, but the cover's amazing. But I have to check out Demon Wind.
Yeah. It's like it's a fun film. Like every when you watch it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, this is such a ripoff of the Evil Dead. But then once you watch the movie, it's fun. It's a fun movie to watch.
Nice. Yeah, I gotta check it out. I might own it actually. I'll have to see it in my collection. There's so many movies that I end up just buying and haven't watched yet. And so I have this like massive collection of movies and I kind of go through and go, oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. But you know what? Let's just put on Friday 13th Part 3 again for the 100th time, because I just want something to watch that I know.
Right, exactly.
I do.
And I love prom night too.
Yeah.
Mary Lou, like I love that movie, and I actually interviewed her, the girl who plays Mary Lou,
Oh,
Lisa
you did?
Strange. Yeah,
Amazing.
she is so nice. Like she had no idea like the following that the movie has, And when I interviewed her, she's like, I had no idea that people even cared about this movie. I said, yeah,
That's amazing. I love that movie, and she did a great job. And that's another one that has this humor, this dark humor to it, and great kills.
yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, that first movie is a snooze fest. Like,
I know. I mean,
it
Jamie
really
Lee Curtis
is.
is in it, but it's not. It's
I
not
know.
good. It's not good.
Like it. The idea and the poster of that movie is better than the movie. I mean, let's be honest. But the second one, it's almost, you know what? Quite frankly, I know I'm going to sound blasphemous here, but it's like Sleepaway Camp 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like, I love Sleepaway Camp 1. Do not get me wrong. I love that
Yeah.
movie. Felissa Rose is a sweetheart.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing. If it weren't for that ending, it wouldn't have gotten this, like,
That's right.
you know, and the poster is great. But it's not the best film, right?
I know.
But part 2 just blows it up, right?
It
I mean,
does,
it just does such a 180. So I think Prom Night 1 and 2 are basically like that as well, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know the wrestler Chris Jericho?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, like he's a huge horror fan, and his favorite horror movie is actually Sleepaway Camp 2. Like,
Is
that's
it really?
his favorite horror film. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's it's funny because I would have never thought of it as one of my favorites, but I was doing a list for a friend of mine, like top, where you have to top movies, you have to like almost like a tournament type style. I remember thinking, I'm like, man, Sleepaway Camp 2 constantly ranks high for me. I'm like, it's one of my favorite movies. It's just a fun movie. It's not like The Exorcist, I mean, that's just a classic, amazingly made film. But I can put that on any time of day and be like, okay, I'm watching Sleepaway Camp 2. This is great. And it's like 83 minutes. Like, I love it. You're in and out. Like, part of it's a flashback. It's just so great. A flashback of its own movie, which is even better. Like, they're flashing back to an hour before. Like, who does that in a movie? It's great. It's brilliant. It really is. I'll tell you a real quick story. That was actually the first license I ever got.
Really?
Yeah. So I started the business in 2003 in September, and I didn't know anything about licensing. It wasn't even like a thing. Like, I knew that you had to get a license. I just didn't know how it worked. But I wanted desperately the rights to Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 because I knew they were owned by one person and not the same guy who owned part 1. And so I found Michael Simpson. I messaged him, I emailed him, and at my work, he faxed me over the license agreement so I could sign and fax back. And I just found it in my papers last week. I still have it. And that's the same license we still have today, 20 years later. We've kept the same license. And because usually licenses go in about 2-year increments, you have to renew. But he just told us, just keep it and just keep paying royalties to whatever. So it's literally the one we've had for the longest period of time. He's just like, do what you want with it. So it's like we have and we're actually doing a trading card set of it this year. So
really?
Hopefully if we can get it, we have it done, but we're waiting on some autographs from some of the people. It's a part 2 and 3 combined. Nice. So we have a few people from part 2 that are signing, not Pamela, unfortunately. And
She's
then
very hard to you don't know how many times I reached out to her for interview, and I never hear back because she owns her own company.
Yes, that's right.
I called the company, I emailed them, and she will not do an interview.
I know. I had a friend who actually semi-stalked her out of a theater once because he knew she was going to be there. He wasn't trying to be a jerk, and he was very kind, and he approached her very gingerly and said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm a fan. And she actually kind of got a little weird at first, and he said she was very nice. It wasn't that she was not nice, but I think she was worried. I think from my understanding, and I could be maybe not understanding it right, but like he said, or I've heard that she doesn't think of those films anymore, and she really thinks that it would be more, she doesn't like those films because she doesn't like her performance, but she feels like she would almost be mocked for them, I think.
Really?
And I don't think she really understands that people would line up around the building to get in to get her autograph, and it wouldn't be as a ha funny. It would be like, I love you in that film. Exactly. So I don't know. I think that's because she did sign something for him and got a picture, but
Oh, okay.
very standoffish, but I don't think she understands. I think she feels like she would be mocked.
Wow.
And those movies 2 and 3 were shot a weekend apart. All the
Oh,
people
really?
that Yeah, all the people that were killed off in part 2 were crew on part 3, and they shot it the next weekend. So
She had like a completely different hairstyle in both.
that was a wig. To my knowledge, it was a wig. They were shot all together. So she never really got to see the movie at all in the performance. And of course, they come out and, I understand, who wants to be associated with it. They're kind of weird, movies, but I just don't think she really, I think if you got her in a room with Sleepaway Camp 2 fans and 3 fans, she would be like, I didn't know this existed. Kind of like what you said about Mary Lou there,
Yeah, like she had no idea. Like
yeah.
it was funny. The thing with Mary Lou, I had to kind of do like a stalky thing. Like I spent like hours just like researching her, and then I found like little odd and ends that led to her like new life, and I contacted her, and
She's
she
probably
was
like, what is this guy contacting me about this movie? Good for you, though. Good for you,
yeah.
man. I give you props.
Yeah, yeah. Like at first, she was like, for the first thing she said is like, "Oh, how did you?" She's like, "Yeah, Lisa Strange from Prom Night 2." She's like, "How did you find me?" I was like, "That's not important." I was like, "I just want."
Yeah. Don't worry
I was
about
like,
it.
I just want to know if you would like to do an interview. She's like, "Why would you want to interview me about that film? No one even cares about it." I said, "No one cares about it." I said, "Are you serious?" I was like, "It has a cult following." I said, "The fans are like dying to see you and talk to you." And that opened up her eyes. She went, "Really?" And then when she did the interview, and someone reached out to me if she could come do like horror convention, and I asked her, I sent her an email. I said, "Someone asked me if you want to do a horror convention, and it's right where you live at in Canada." And she was like, "All right, I'll do it." And I put him through to her, and she did the horror convention. She only did one after the horror convention. She never did it again, but that's because COVID hit then.
Oh my God, I was just gonna say she would make a killing in the
Yeah,
States. Like good for you for getting that connect, because hopefully they gave her a little bit of a taste of what it would be like. And then now that things with COVID have kind of
yeah.
passed for the most part, her being able to do more shows, that would be
I
awesome.
know. Like she told me she had a lot of fun with it. Like she didn't know the fan base was that huge for the movie. She said she had lines, and she was really shocked on like the fan base that like genuinely loved meeting her, and she was completely blown away by that, by like the fan response for the movie all these years later.
Well, if you think about it, there's not a ton of people like that haven't done shows. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that have never done a show, but
Yeah.
someone like Mary Lou in that movie, and again, a similar thing with Pamela Springsteen, I think,
Mhm.
is you've got someone who I think there's plenty of people who love that person. They were the main character in a film, but have never done a show. I mean, Robert Englund's done plenty of shows. Kane
Oh,
Hodder, the guys who played Michael Myers. I mean, for a long time, Nick Castle had never done a show, and that was like, oh my God, if he ever did a show, it'd be amazing, because he didn't really need to do one. I mean, whatever. I mean, I know Pamela doesn't either, and maybe Lisa didn't either. But understanding that there is a huge fan base,
yeah.
and then since then Nick's done a ton of shows, but it's almost like turning over stones. I don't think there's a ton more stones to turn over, that would really draw a crowd. There's people that you're like, oh, I never thought about that person, but Mary Lou, oh my God, Pamela Springsteen, yes. And there's probably, I'm sure if we sat here, there's probably a few other people we could come up with, but those
Yeah.
two, I would say yes, for sure. High
Oh,
up.
definitely. Like I was like kind of sad. Like I was like, "Oh man, I got Mary Lou to do an interview. Let me work on Pamela now." And man, that led to nowhere.
Yeah, you almost have to know somebody in her camp, right? I think you probably have to know somebody that might be able to, like, what you got to do? You got to go through Bruce for that. Go through Bruce Springsteen. He'll get her to do it. He's got to be easier to get to, right?
Oh yeah, sure. That
Yeah.
you talking about the boss.
Wouldn't that be funny? You like wait for him after a show to meet him, and you walk up and say, "Look, Bruce, great show, but I need to talk to your sister, buddy.
I
Like
want to talk to Pamela. I want to talk.
you're the boss. I get it, but we need to talk to the sister of the boss. Okay, like you're cool, you know. That was hilarious, actually.
That would he would probably be like totally caught off guard too.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
And the funny thing is, I love Bruce Springsteen. I mean, it's not like I'm like the big fan where I listen to everything, but I do love Bruce, and he's an icon, obviously. But no joke, I probably want to meet his sister maybe more than him. And I'm not even kidding you. Like, if I had the choice right now, I'd probably pick her over him.
Yeah, it's same. Again, me, how she never answers you.
She's elusive.
Yeah. I even commented on her post on Instagram.
Oh, really?
And she reads it and then she don't respond.
Oh, she left you on red. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's rough, man.
And, what kind of music do you like? Like, what kind of songs do you listen to?
Oh man, it's all over the place, dude. Like seriously, it's like I have a playlist of a schizophrenic or something. So I mean, I listen to, you know what it is? I listen to a lot of stuff that I grew up with, and it's a mishmash. So, you know, I can go into hair metal, right? Because I grew up, I mean, I'm the youngest of four, and my older brothers, you know, would always listen to hair metal. So I love all those bands from the 80s, right? Like Iron Maiden's one of my favorite bands, and
Nice,
Leopard, and then there's like Rush, which isn't hair metal, but it was my brother's favorite band. Rat was my favorite band growing up. And then but I'm also a guitar player, and I like to play music. So I also love like guitar player, like I love the blues and old blues and Delta blues and blues artists coming up through there. And plus, you know, you got other guys like, you know, Hendrix and Clapton and SRV and all these other guys, and even nowadays like Joe Bonamassa and stuff like that. But then like I'll go into like Blink-182 and Angels and Airwaves, but then Ramones are my favorite band of all time, so I'll go into Ramones, and then Misfits. But then I'll go to Wilson Phillips because I love Wilson Phillips, and I'll put them on and jam to them for a while. So it's like, it's hard to just say, oh, I like this style of music, because if it sounds good to me, I don't care what it is, you know? I mean, I don't listen to a lot of like hip hop or rap, although I do sometimes when I'm working out, we'll put on some DMX or something. That's great. Okay. But I don't gravitate toward that normally. And then like, you know, again, country, I'm not the biggest fan of, like not new country, but like older country, like Dolly Parton or Williams or something like that. I love, I think it's great music. Johnny Cash is amazing.
Yes.
So it's really, I'm kind of like, I'm open to anything. I will not shut out anything if it sounds good. I was just listening to something on Alt Nation the other day on Sirius XM. I was going through my channels and I heard a song. I was like, what is this? And of course with Apple Music, you know, I can just download it or whatever. And it's this band, Boy Genius, I think it was. And I was like, man, this sounds really good. And I've been listening to it like nonstop. So like, yeah, I don't know. I bounce around a lot. It's hard to pick one genre.
Nice. And what would be like your go-to song if you were doing karaoke?
Oh, I love that question. Okay, so here's the thing. I think with a karaoke song, you got to do something that everybody knows and can sing along with.
I agree with that.
All right, so I'm going to pick two. One is a very standard answer, which it probably is on everyone's list, but it does. I think it's on everyone's list because of a reason, you know, of because it's such a great song. But you got to do "Don't Stop Believing" for karaoke. Oh my God! Like that is, you are way too many beers in. The place is about to close, and you're like, no, one more, and then it just dun 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 dun, and everyone just goes nuts. And it doesn't matter because you're not going to hit any of the notes anyway, and you're gonna probably pass out by the time you're done. But one that's probably closer to my heart. And it probably would catch people off guard if I started this one up. It would be Wilson Phillips, "Hold On." I'd pull that. Oh my
God, yes.
Everybody knows that song, but I don't think people would expect, you know, me to get up there and sing it, or anybody really, unless, you know, it's like a bunch of girls in a bachelor party or something, you know? So like, I don't know. You know, that's what I would do. Why? What's your song?
Oh man, actually, the first song you said Journey, Don't Stop Believing. Like I always love doing that, and a song that I like is Chris Jericho's band Fozzy.
Oh
That
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they got a song called Judas,
Okay.
and I like singing that too, because like Chris Jericho is one of my all-time favorites for wrestling. So
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know, makes me want to go do karaoke now, you know.
yeah, right, exactly. So what's your drink of choice if you're at like a bar doing karaoke or just hanging out?
Well, I'm a big whiskey guy. I love beer. I do love beer, and I was into craft beer for a long time. I still am, but I just, in terms of like really, really deep into it. But there's so many now, it's almost so hard to keep up that I kind of pick the ones I like and just stick with them. Although I'll try anything, doesn't matter. But I am into whiskey and bourbon a lot. So every time I'm at a bar now, I'll just scan their, like I was just at we were at a concert the other night. Actually, one of my favorite bands of all time is Counting Crows, and we got to see them.
Oh yeah.
I love them. I hadn't seen them in so many years, and my wife and I got to go. It was great. But we were getting dinner, and we were sitting at the bar having dinner at this place, and I was scanning their, their shelves, and I'm like, all right, they got like 5, and out of those 5, there's 2 that I would probably get, and I'll get that one. You know what I mean? So I'm always looking for the bourbon and what they have, but there's a place not even a mile from me that's got one of the best it's one of the best whiskey bars in town, and it's out in the suburbs, which is crazy. But there, I'm always like, oh my god, I have to try that and try that and try that. But it's basically I would go for like whatever the top shelf bourbon is, depending on where we're at. Obviously, sometimes the top shelf is a little crazy, but like for example, this other night, Blanton's was the top shelf, and I like Blanton's. It's fine. It's not my favorite, but of the ones available, I was like, I'll go with that one. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. Well, some people might call me a whiskey snob. I'm really not. I don't really care, but at the same time, I like what I like. So
yeah, exactly.
Like, just don't go give me Jim Beam White Label, right? Like, I'll drink that with Coke, or I'll drink that on ice, but I'm not drinking that neat and sipping it, like give me something a little bit better, No offense to Jim Beam, by the way. I love a lot of Jim Beam products. I'm just saying that traditional white, even Jack Daniels, like number 7's fine for what it is, but you're not sipping it, you know what I mean? You're
exactly.
You're mixing it with something,
because that's like my drink when I go out. I love Jack and Coke. Like I love drinking.
I like Jack and Coke, and I think that's a great way to have it. Like I genuinely like that. But like if I'm going to drink Jack, I want to drink. Well, first of all, I don't mind the Gentleman Jack is pretty good, but the single barrel select is like 60% alcohol. It's like 120 proof. It's so good, and you just pour a couple ounces neat in a glass and sip it. That's where I'm at. Like that's what I want.
Okay.
And just take it. You can add ice if you want. Some people like it that way. I prefer it neat. They actually did a triple mash one last year and a bonded one, which is 100 proof, which is like they're almost like their number 7, but 100 proof. That's actually really good. Yeah, and that's good. That's good on its own or on the rocks. I tried it with Coke, didn't work out well. You need the number 7. Yeah, I didn't like that one with the Coke. It was weird. It needed to be the old standby number 7, But man, if I drink number 7 straight, it just takes me back to being like 22. Like it's like time machine. I drank a lot of Jack when I was like in my early 20s, But yeah, so that's good.
Nice. And is there anything coming up for you that you want to plug? I mean, of course, the Halloween 2 game.
We've got tons of releases coming up. Speaking of Killer Clowns, we are celebrating the 35th anniversary next month with an exclusive box set that we've got coming out. Nice. It's going to be pretty rad. We'll be releasing details on that soon. And then, this fall we're going to be in, I don't know, where are you located? Are you in the East Coast?
Philly.
You're Philly?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Do you go to Monster Mania? Do I see you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I buy my shirts at.
Yes. Okay. You actually look familiar to me. I was like, I wonder if well, we're going out to California, to Pasadena, for the 45th anniversary Halloween show. So we're bringing
Nice.
the whole crew out there. We were out there for the 40th. We're going to be there for the 45th and late
Nice.
September. And we've got a lot of exclusive stuff, a lot of cool stuff in the works that we're going to be doing. So, and obviously we'll be at Monster Mania in August. I won't be there
Yeah.
myself.
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay.
be on vacation, but my brother and a few of my people that work with me are going to be there. So, but yeah, it's there's always something going on. We got a lot in the works.
Wow. Yeah, the third 35th anniversary to Killer Clowns is like this year.
Yeah.
And because last month I actually did a 35th anniversary interview with Grant Suzanne and two of the clowns.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is wicked, dude. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Like they were telling me like all behind the scenes stories, and the guys that played the clowns, like they were telling me about the suit they had to wear, and yeah, it was really fun.
I'm going down to New Jersey next week for see the Misfits in Newark.
Nice.
And the night before they're showing at one of the theaters, I forget which one, they're showing Killer Clowns in 35 millimeter. And so we're gonna go see that. And I don't think I've actually ever seen a print of that movie, so I'm excited to see it. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend. I'm gonna hang out with my buddies, and it'll be fun.
Nice. That does sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And where can fans follow you at?
So obviously the website is frightrags.com. It's fright-rags.com. And anywhere on social media, usually mostly Twitter and Instagram, it's just at Fright Rags, one word. And then I'm a little bit on TikTok. I don't do a lot on TikTok. It's too much. But it's mostly Instagram and Twitter for our socials. Obviously Facebook too, but mostly Twitter and Instagram.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking time, Allie. It was really awesome talking to you. Like when I saw I was going to be interviewing you, I was like, oh my God, I said, I bought so many shirts off of Fright Rags. This is going to be awesome.
Thanks, man. No, I appreciate you having me on. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, I love horror. So any chance I get to talk to someone about horror, I love it.
Well, hopefully you'll get to talk to Pamela Springsteen. So I'm rooting for it.
I've been literally trying her for almost like 3 years now.
Hey, keep trying. Maybe you'll wear her down,
Yeah. We'll definitely have a great Friday night and rest of the weekend, buddy. Again, it was really awesome meeting you and talking.
Same here, man. And yeah, you two have a great weekend and good Friday night. And yeah, hope to see you at a show one of these days.
Oh my God, yes. I'm at every like horror convention that they do in Jersey, so you'll be seeing me there.
Awesome. Sounds great, man.
All right, buddy.
All right, take care.
Have a good one.
You too, man. See ya.
Bye.